Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the Wenham Select Board meeting for May 4th, 2021, starting at 6:30. We'll start off with the public input. That's anybody in the chat room, raise your hand or indicate, and we'll take a look and see.
There's no one in the chat room at this time, Mr.
All right, thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, so let's move along then. And over to Tom for all the announcements.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, board members. Come back, thank you. Our hydrant flushing program has completed as of today, May 4th. Next, again, rain barrels are available for purchase. Wenham residents receive a half-price discount. Our town, through the Great American Rain Barrel Program, is excited to offer barrels first come, first served to residents at half price at $34.50. That's 70% off retail. Residents must order by June 10th at www.greatamericanrainbarrel.com/community. Pickup is at Saturday, June 19th between 8 o'clock and noon in the morning at the Wenham DPW garage on 21 Grapevine Road. Please contact our water department at 978-468-5520, extension 6 with any questions. Reminder again, it's first come, first serve. Once the barrels are gone, they're gone. Next is our announcement of the board and committee openings throughout the town. You may submit your interest in serving through our appointments request Google form found at wenham.gov/volunteer by sending an email to the attention of the select board at admin@wenhamma.gov. The positions in the board and committee openings are the Affordable Housing Trust, 3 openings for 2-year terms. The Audit Committee, 3 openings. Board of Registrars, 1 opening. Cemetery Commission, 1 opening. Community Preservation Committee, 1 opening. Conservation Commission, 3 openings. Those are all 3-year terms. Now we go to the next categories. Council on Aging Board, 4 openings. Finance Advisory Committee, 2 openings. Hamilton Wenham Community Access and Media, 2 openings. The Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council, 1 opening. Historic District Commission, 3 openings. Those are all 3-year terms. In our Iron Rail Commission has 1 opening for a 2-year term. Our final 5 categories are Open Space and Recreation Committee, 7 openings, 1-year term. Veterans Committee has 4 openings. 1 is for a 1-year term, 3 are for 3-year terms. The Wenham Human Rights Committee has 1 opening for a 3-year term. Wish Committee has 3 openings, 1 for a 1-year term and 2 for a 3-year term. And finally, a Zoning Board of Appeal has 1 opening for a 3-year term and 3 associate member openings for a staggered term. Reminder again, those are at wenhamma.gov/volunteer. It's getting closer to beach time, so wish to announce that the Pleasant Pond beach parking stickers are available for purchase. Please contact the town clerk's office regarding purchase of your beach stickers. The cost for Wenham residents are $25 for our first sticker and $10 for each additional sticker. The $10 sticker is for residents age 65 and older. For those Hamilton residents, $50 for your first sticker and $20 each additional sticker. For our seniors 65 and older, that would be for $20 per sticker. You may find further information on this at wenhamma.gov/Pleasant Pond. Town election is coming up on Thursday, May 6th. You may vote at our town hall between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. On the ballot, we have 1 position for the Board of Assessors for a 3-year term, 1 member of the Board of Health for 3 years. Select Board has 1 opening for 3 years. The Wenham Library Trustees has 2 at-large positions for 3 years. The Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee has 2 positions for 3-year terms. The moderator is 1 position for a 3-year term. Planning Board, 1 opening for 5 years. The Water Commissioner, 1 opening for 3 years. And the Wenham Housing Authority has 2 openings, one for a 5-year term and the other 3 years to complete an unexpired term. Absentee voting is in person, available at the town clerk office with a deadline of, and I can't read it unfortunately because my screen.
That's tomorrow at noon, May 5th.
Tomorrow at noon. Thank you, Gary, for jumping in there. I appreciate that. Absentee ballots may be mailed to the town clerk at a town hall or placed in the drop box no later than poll closing of 8 p.m. of May 6th. If you have any questions, you may contact our town clerk, Trudy Reed at treid@wenham.gov, or you may contact her for any questions. That's at wenhamma.gov/elections. Now for reports. I have a number of them here. First, regarding the town's moving to the Cape Ann Regional Veterans Program, we've been notified by the Cape Ann program that we have been formally accepted into it. So by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we have to be approved by the Department of Veteran Services, and they did allow us to join. So they will be submitting to us a draft intermunicipal agreement for the board to sign. We will be getting that, reviewing that, and submitting it to the board at a later time. Next, as we spoke earlier, the House budget had been approved, and we do thank Senator Tar and Representative Hill for all their assistance regarding our local aid numbers, but also Representative Hill was kind enough to have filed an amendment in the budget for a $25,000 public safety grant, which has been approved in the House budget for our use during the COVID activities. Next, it will move to the Senate, and I'm assuming Senator Tar will be supporting that, and hopefully it will stay in the Senate version of the budget and then going toward the governor for a signature. So thank you, Representative Hill, for thinking of our community and for our public safety departments. Next, which I'll be hopefully proposing and submitting to the board at a future time in the next couple of weeks. I've asked town council to submit a different type of proposal to the community for how they're paid. Currently, right now, they are on an hourly payment. I have worked with them before on a retainer proposal, which covers basically universal coverage on a number or most actually activities for town council. They've submitted back a price proposal to what they would cover. Our internal team reviewed it. We sent some recommendations back to council, and depending upon how those are looked upon, I am hopeful that I will be submitting a proposal to the board that is well below what we actually budgeted for next year for town council. What a retainer program does is basically you have generally, in most cases, unlimited access to town council where you would not be paying an hourly rate. Some items would be excluded, but we've reviewed that. In a number of those cases, we don't necessarily utilize those. So if we have this proposal to the board, it could be a very significant decrease in our legal budget for the next year.
You just went mute there, Tom. You're muted, Tom. There you are.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so going back again. All right. Okay, let's do the reports because those were, I apologize for that. By the time I'm getting used to that, I'll be back home. Okay. First, we've been accepted into the Cape Ann Veteran Services Program by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Department of Veteran Services has approved us.
Tom, so we got all that. We're just, the last 10 seconds was all that you were muted on.
Last 10 seconds. Okay,
Yeah.
fine then. I guess it's a sweeps week and you don't want to watch me again. All right. Regarding the election, in the finance office here, since we will be open literally all day and into the evening Monday, first floor finance office, like the previous election, will be working remotely for that weekday, based on COVID guidance. So I just want to make that announcement, but they will be available remotely if they're needed. Next, and I want to thank our town clerk. One thing I'd like to do when we finish town meeting is I like to expedite all the activities that we recently were approved of, both financially and bylaw wise. Trudy was able enough to get our bylaw off, which is the select board naming, to the Attorney General's office for approval. Generally, they have 90 days to approve your bylaw, but we were able to get it off today, and that's great. Legally, you are not the select board until the AG, Attorney General, approves it, but I am using select board right now when in conversational purposes and for meeting purposes, and generally, I don't have a problem for you utilizing that. Maybe on some legal documents, we can't at this point, but if you wish to call yourself the select board at this point, I wish you the best going forward. And that was a wonderful move by the board and the town meeting members for approving this. I really think that's a great way to go. Next, also from Trudy. Trudy and I worked with Representative Hill, and he came by today to pick up a certified copy of the recall article. So he may, in percent of the time, file legislation to hopefully get that through and approved during this legislative year. So
Great.
I wanted, like I said, we did this on Saturday. We got it out of town hall on Tuesday. So
Great.
that's what we do for town meeting. Also regarding town meeting, and I want to thank our department heads. I've contacted most of them right now for any project that was approved by the capital budget to begin the process. Obviously, we can't pay for it at this point, but to begin the process of beginning looking for quotes or proposals for those items. So coming July 1, we will possibly have a number of those items already in-house and not beginning the process to wait for a number of further months. That also includes the master plan that the planning board will be reviewing some ideas about the process, how acquire it, setting up committees and so forth at their next meeting. So the key is also getting that moving also. So I'm very pleased with all these items that we have approved last Saturday afternoon, that we're getting them, moving out of the house at this time. And I believe that is it at this point. Thank you, board members.
Thank you,
Thank
Tom.
Thank you.
So Mary Beth Ting is on tonight, is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you very much,
Right.
Mr. Chairman. Just looking at my notes. So we've had wonderful improvement this past week. So in the previous week where we went from yellow zone, we've dropped significantly. In the most recent 2-week period, which ended on the 1st and was 2 weeks preceding, there were 6 cases in the town of Wenham, which drops us down into the gray zone, which is wonderful, wonderful improvement. And I would just encourage everyone to continue their excellent efforts at mitigation strategies, as well as if you have not yet sought your vaccination, to seek it. That's really turning the tide for many of us in terms of decreasing the rate of infection and the terrible outcomes of infection in terms of hospitalization and death and disease. So that's really good news. There is more shifting, as I'm sure you've probably heard from announcements from the governor, in terms of ways that they're going to be shifting vaccination to make it more accessible on the local level. So we will have at least another, probably about 8 weeks, or maybe a little bit less, of access at the DoubleTree, and then work to make vaccine available in other spots, local physicians' offices and other things. And there's active conversations going on with partners, regional partnerships, and active discussion with other ways of bringing vaccine close. And the other exciting development is that the emergency use authorization, I always have to really concentrate on that because I want to say emergency youth authorization. Emergency
Well, it
use.
kind of is.
Yeah. Well, the direction is that that's, going before the FDA for the possibility of vaccine availability for those ages 12 to 15, which opens up, sort of our middle school population. So that's an exciting new shift as well. More to hear about that, and I will be happy to encourage everyone to try to get their vaccine for their children as that becomes available. And I think that's about it right now. We haven't had any new cases in the last week, so things are going well.
Sounds good. So just to reinforce with the public, so right now, 16-year-olds and above can get the vaccine?
Correct. 16 and older for the Pfizer vaccine, 18 and above for the Moderna, and the Janssen, the J&J vaccine. But both Pfizer, I think Pfizer is closer with the FDA than Moderna, but Moderna has also been studying it in younger. So we just have to wait and see when they become available, and we will do our best to make it even more convenient for our local residents to be able to get vaccine, so that kids can enjoy the things that they want to enjoy with their friends and with their loved ones in a way that they've been holding back right now.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything, Catherine?
Just, I guess, one comment. From personal experience, I guess, and some family members, it appears to me that the backlog, at least, or the long waits for vaccines, the availability of vaccines is waning, which is, maybe the bad news, but also the good news. Is that generally true? It does seem, I was in a hospital not too long ago that had a sign that said, COVID vaccines this way, not even asking for appointments. So does
Right.
that seem, so folks who want a vaccine now don't have the long waits, the big, delays that we would have had earlier?
That's correct, Catherine. Shopping at Costco over the weekend, I saw a sign in their pharmacy saying, Moderna here. And you could just ask. There was an article on the front page of Sunday's Globe about how the demand is not outstripping supply now, and that the harder work is now getting it to people who are a little bit more difficult to reach, and those who might need some encouragement to receive the vaccine. So you're right on the money there.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so I guess Chairman's report up next. So first thing I'd like to say is a big thank you to everyone that let the annual town meeting come off with great success. Certainly Bill Tyack and the team out of DPW, fire, police, everybody in the town hall that contributed to it. A big round of applause for you, and thank you for the great effort. Also, as we said before, the town report, if you had asked for a hard copy, those are getting delivered. Otherwise, it's available online. Next item is a little bit more negative. So I've been getting reports back of some vandalism and stuff at the Pingree Park, especially the restroom area. So please, folks, let's respect our facilities and make sure your younger folks in your family units know how to handle that as well. Catherine, anything from you?
Just one thing, and it's an echo of what you said, just a thank you to everyone who was participated and also helped make our town meeting a success. It's a bit of a challenge under the conditions of tent and cold, and but I thought it went really, really well. And thanks again to echo Gary. Thanks to everyone who was involved. It's great.
And we should follow up that with the Friday night before we had the movie. We had quite a few people signed up. I think the chill deterred a few. thanks to Nikki Roebuck, who I think originated the idea, and to Sean over at Rec Center that really pulled it off with the help of the DPW. So that's maybe something we can look at later in the year too, August, when a little bit warmer, perhaps having another movie night. But thanks to everybody that helped set that up and make it another success. All right,
Good idea.
let's move on then to, I think this is yours, Catherine.
Yep. So this is the consent agenda, which this week again includes only minutes. The motion is, excuse me, I move that the Wenham, and I'll use select board, get my tongue used to it, that the Wenham Select Board approve all items in the consent agenda, including open session minutes, April 27, 2021, and executive session minutes, April 27, 2001, to be held.
Second.
Second. Any amendments, or I've already reviewed them, so Gary,
No,
did you have any further? Okay. Then we'll take a vote, a roll call vote. Gary?
Gary, aye.
Catherine, aye.
Right.
Thank you to Catherine Tinsley.
Yes.
Okay, this is, I guess, still me. Exciting stuff where I can't take any credit for any of this, by the way. So I'm making only a report. All of the work that's been done here has been through Paradigm Associates, but in-house, I believe, mostly through Nikki and Gary. So thanks for the work to date, and the screening committee, of course. So we're moving along in our process of choosing a new town administrator. We have here 3 important dates that are actually right around the corner. Next Tuesday at our select board meeting, which will include 3 select board members, a full board, there will be an announcement of the town administrator finalists. So some number of finalists will be announced to us, I'm presuming by John Petrin at Paradigm. We'll bring those names to the board on the 11th. We're scheduled to interview these finalists. The select board is scheduled to interview the finalists on May 15th, which is a Saturday, via Zoom, starting in the morning. And I'll talk about it in a second, but there'll be more details on that shortly in terms of how to get on the Zoom and the times, etc. And then on the 19th, all things go well. The intention is which is the following Wednesday, the intention is for the select board to discuss, deliberate upon these finalists, and potentially, hopefully, vote on the town administrator selection. So and again, details on wenhamma.gov TA search. A few sort of in between pieces of information that I just kind of like to share. We would like to very much include the community and staff as much as possible in this process. And there are limitations to that based on courtesy and security of our candidates. But to that end, we would like both the community and staff, anyone in Wenham or who works for Wenham, if they have a question that they would like the select board to ask each of the candidates, there is, or there will be, a Google form online that will allow you to just anonymously and without any big to-do enter a question that you may wish for us to ask. We will include, the select board will include, and unless Gary has an issue with that, but we will include these in our questions as there's time. Does that make sense, Gary?
Yes.
Okay.
No more than 100 each, right?
Right. I'm thinking, right. So if you don't hear your question, we're sorry, but we're going to try to include as many as we can. And then I've been thinking that if anyone has any comments, well, let me back up a second. So then the questions will be asked, the interviews will be promoted, and I'm hoping that we can work with Nikki and whoever else to let people really know when these interviews are and the timing. It'll be on the website. If someone watches the interviews, which we will hopefully encourage and people will watch, we're going to encourage people to call us, the select board members, if anyone has any input about a particular candidate. If they watched an interview and have a thought, it seems to be, I've been advised that the safest way to do that, and we provide a phone number, is for people to call and be, I guess, connected to a select board member. So we can use those comments to inform our decision making. Does that sound okay to you too, Gary?
Yes.
Okay. And then I guess we'll have to decide whether this is the right thing to do, but before the interviews, I feel like we will need to do as much outreach as we possibly can so that people realize that the interviews are happening. We've talked about a few things in the past, I guess, and I think some ways that we have done this is, again, through the web, for people who don't, website, people who don't use computers, perhaps even a robocall. It's a obviously a very important decision. We'd like to get as much input as possible. We'd like to have as many people watch this as possible. So this is the process and the dates that we're looking at the moment. And I just, so backing up 1 second. So the Google form, if you're interested in adding a question to the list of questions that are going to be asked of the candidates, the finalists, there will be a Google form on the town website. It looks a lot like the Google forms that you would fill in to make an appointment, etc. And Nikki, maybe you can remind me of this if you're there. Where is this Google form going to be?
I'll have a link on the TA search page as well as in recent news on the town website.
Great, okay. And I think it's going to be available for people to put in questions pretty soon.
Yep, I can do it right after the meeting.
Amazing. So the hope is that we'll be able to start taking questions as of, I guess, right after the meeting. I'll say tomorrow, but it's important that we get all of the questions by next Wednesday. So that's really like May 15th to May 12th, so that we have a little time to integrate the questions. So that's all I had on the selection process based on my information to date. Gary, is there anything?
No,
Forgotten?
we just want to shout out to the TA screening committee that did a lot of the legwork to get it down to the 3 finalists. So that was quite an effort on their part.
Yes, thank you very much for that. So keep in touch. We'll be reminding people it's actually coming up pretty quickly. So that's that. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, so next item is a discussion regarding police salary percentage increases for qualified officers, Connors, Phillips, and Princey. So we have 3 new officers that came on starting last November through just recently here, and very well qualified, couple graduate degrees, long experience at other jobs, and typically in the past, new officers that we may have had to fund to go to the police academy start out at a certain salary range. But in this case, we'd like to review that these 3 particular officers should start at a little higher level based upon their experience. This had come up previously back at the turn of the year with Chief Perkins, but of course we had just a single selectman, so couldn't take action. But now we are with our new police chief has resubmitted this. So is there another backup slide on this one? No. All right. So essentially in the packet, you'll have seen that all 3 of these have very extensive backgrounds on education as well as police training and outside. The list of courses they've taken is quite extensive, and I believe we have 1.5, 3, and 7 years of full experience of these. So is there a written motion? Tom, all right. So let's go to discussion first then, Catherine, and we can look at the details.
Yeah, so I've reviewed what we have. I had to remind myself of what this was. I agree that this is the right thing to do. We haven't always been able to recruit people who have been through the academy and have experience, we would like to continue to recruit that kind of people. So starting them at a higher percentage of 100% is probably reasonable. I just wanted to, I guess, make a note that I believe that we have a memo. So this was originally proposed, I believe, to the board by Chief Perkins.
Yes,
But
back,
yeah, I don't know.
no
that
action
was.
because of the select board situation, but now
Right.
we have a quorum, we can readdress it.
Right, and it seems to me, and I'm looking at an email that I just wanted the public to understand that our new chief, and I've got to get used to saying Chief DiNapoli now, has also endorsed these particular increases. So although it came from a past recommendation, our new chief seems to be also on board with making these increases. So that's all I have on that.
Right. So Tom, are we looking to take a formal vote tonight or next Tuesday?
If we could take the vote this evening, that would be fine because we have a lot of items coming up
Right,
in the
yeah.
next few meetings.
You comfortable with that, Catherine?
I am, yes.
So let me create the motion here. I move that the Wenham Board of Selectmen approve police salary percentage increases for the qualified officers Connors, Phillips, and Princey as outlined in the Chief DiNapoli's memorandum. And do we need an effective date on these, Tom?
Just a second, yeah.
Right.
Perhaps is it intended to be as of their hire date?
That go way back.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
2020, yes.
yes, so
So do we have, that's
of
a good
tonight,
question,
then?
Gary.
yeah, I think so. The question is, do we make it effective as of tonight or the first of the month, Tom, or what's financially doable?
Chief, you have a recommendation?
Effective immediately as of tonight, I think is appropriate, and that was what was expected. Just to say, just to echo the points that were already mentioned as well, starting with Deputy Chief Luke and Tony, and then moving on with, John Phillips, Bart Connors, and Michelle Princey. We started a nice trend of educated, trained, experienced police officers, and the proof is in the pudding for what they've provided. So I'm, wholeheartedly endorsing it. And I do think it's something that needs to be addressed with the next collective bargaining agreement. If someone does come in with a full-time experience and an advanced degree, it should be, taken into consideration to look at this so we don't have to come forward at this hour and ask for it. Just, a thought moving forward.
So let's, my motion will be effective as of this evening. And thank you to Officers Connors, Phillips, and Princey for your continued service to the town. So do I have a second?
Yes,
All right,
and that's just
go
a
ahead, Tom.
discussion. Oh, go ahead, Tom. I just have a question, but it's an easy one.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, I think Chief back on there, maybe for easier process is that the pay increase should be effective at the beginning of the last pay period, the most recent one. So you're not going to have
right, calculations.
a paycheck that's split.
All right, so, Catherine T., let's amend that motion to make the pay change effective as of the most recent pay date. Previous pay
And
date. Does that
I
work?
think sorry.
Go ahead.
It does, but maybe Jamie can give me that date.
Yeah, and probably Catherine would like to know that the memo that you're referring to is a memo that has the actual amounts, is a memo of Thursday, January 21, 2021.
Thank
So
you.
we don't have, we didn't have the,
Right.
I know the pay period started as of Sunday, if that makes sense, this most recent 2-week pay period,
Okay.
this past Sunday. Yep, Jackie's following up.
May 2nd.
Yes.
Yeah, it
I
did start
believe-
Sunday. Sorry, it's Jamie.
Yep. Okay, so we'll make it, after all this discussion, we'll make the motion to adjust the police salary percentage increases for qualified officers Connors, Phillips, and Princey effective 2 May 2021 in the percentages as stated in the memorandum of 21. What was the date on that memorandum?
21 January.
21 January 2021.
Correct.
Well, now here a second.
I will second that.
Any other discussion?
Nope,
All right,
all set.
the roll call vote. Catherine?
Catherine, I.
Gary, aye. All right, done. And thank you much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Catherine. And Tom, we're just doing an update on this tonight, right? As we have
Yes,
further.
Mr. Chairman. The chief and I
Right.
are just going through it on Thursday with some of the recommendations from town council. They should be, we'll be going through them with the deputy chief. I'm sure he'll be fine with them. They're just some clarification items. But we will hopefully be having his agreement back to the board by your next meeting.
Okay, that was an easy one for me.
But you
And
got
I
it.
welcome the deputy again to the public. Thank you for stepping up and accepting that position, deputy. Looking forward to working with you the next couple of months.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I look forward to serving the fine citizens of Wenham.
Thank you, Jason. All right, next new business is discussion and potential vote to approve an amendment to Police Chief DiNapoli's contract. So when Chief DiNapoli's contract was originally signed and created, apparently one paragraph, one item was dropped out. So tonight there is a request to amend Chief DiNapoli's July 1, 2021 contract to include an annual $2,000 accreditation stipend that was missed when finalizing his contract. Chief Perkins also had an accreditation stipend in his contract, as well as then Deputy Chief DiNapoli and the police union. So in one sense, this is a correction of an oversight when we created the original contract for our new chief. Any comments, Catherine?
No, I have none.
All right. So certainly for the public, the accreditation of the police department is a significant event. I believe Chief said maybe only 25% of Massachusetts municipalities have a fully accredited department currently. That we know from the past year that there's a lot of training issues and reform actions going on in the state level. So I think under Chief Perkins, now Chief DiNapoli's guidance, we really have a well accredited already, repeatedly accredited department, and we'll keep that going forward. So Chief, I know you headed up the effort that resulted in our full accreditation last fall. Who's going to take over this task?
Deputy Chief Lucantoni is going to be taking on the monumental task. And, I'll certainly work with him and Sergeant Marsh and really all members of the department. It's a team effort. In order to get those proofs of compliance, we have to reach out to everybody. So it's going to have the whole gang jumping on board. And as you mentioned, now more than ever with the reform bill and everything that's going on with police training in the state, the fact that we already are accredited and received our reaccreditation in October put us in a good jumping off point to make sure we're adhering to the areas of compliance that are most important. And so it's a big task, but where we have a good foundation ahead of us.
Sounds good. Any other discussion, Catherine?
No, none for me. Thank you.
Here's the formal motion then. I move that Police Chief DiNapoli's employment and memorandum of agreement or contract as of July 1st, 2021 be amended to as follows to include the wording paragraph 4 compensation. Effective July 1st, 2021, the police chief shall receive an annual accreditation stipend of $2,000. This accreditation stipend will be included in biweekly base pay for retirement purposes. The stipend shall continue so long as the department maintains its accreditation status. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second. I'll
And
second.
roll call vote?
Catherine, I.
Gary, aye. So that's passed. Old business. Discussion regarding the updated shared inspectional services IMA with the town of Hamilton. So Jackie Resnahan has worked diligently on this and has essentially ran the whole program from the Wenham end, but now we are swapping over to Hamilton, take the lead community for a while here. The only substantive changes are that Hamilton becomes the lead community. The building inspector becomes a building commissioner, which has a greater degree of experience in Hamilton. And for the citizens at large, I don't think you're going to see any change because our front desk, operation, there'll be someone that handles the permits upstairs just as there was before. Tom or Jackie, do you have anything to add on the details before we move to Catherine?
Gary, so thank you. I think that's a really great summary. I think I do want to reiterate that there won't be a change in service for the residents of Wenham. They'll still make their phone calls, emails, and inquiries to the town of Wenham permitting office when it comes to matters of this program. I do want to make one note that if folks are, kind of remembering through the process back in 2016 and 2017 when we were getting the program started, initially the program did call for a building commissioner. And we funded that position and had a job description. We looked to try and find someone, but the rate of pay really didn't match the commissioner role. And there wasn't a lot of people that were applying because there's not a lot of folks that were getting their commissioner license at the time. So we revised it to inspector of buildings, and that's how we've operated. But given that it's even more challenging now to find people in these roles, and our prior inspector has left, one, it made sense to try and work with the budgeting process and with Jamie to get the funding between the two towns for the commissioner role to hopefully be able to entice and recruit some additional candidates. But also because both the towns of Wenham and Hamilton are going to be doing their master planning work. The town of Wenham, Margaret Hoffman has gotten a bylaw review and regulation review grant that we're going to be working on. So there's a lot of long-term items as well as some developments that Hamilton's working on that felt like the right change for this at the time. So that's just kind of my other additional details for the members of the public that might not have been following along. So I guess I'm here if you have any questions as well.
Catherine?
Just a couple, Jackie. Thank you. So what I think I heard was that the funding for what we hope is correct funding for a building commissioner was at both of our town meetings and appropriated by both of our town meetings. So I presume that the towns, well, I guess Hamilton, being the lead town now, is going to go forward looking for a building commissioner. Do you know anything about the timing of that, or when the goal, or?
Sure. Thanks, Catherine. It's a really good question. So it didn't make sense when our prior building inspector left for another position to post for a short-term period of time. So we're working right now with an interim inspector. And I do want to take this opportunity to thank and really send out my appreciation to Rich Maloney, who is serving as the interim in both communities. I think he's doing a great job, and we really appreciate him stepping in when he did for this kind of interim assignment. So because the funding will be available July 1, Hamilton, in your packet tonight, we've worked out the updated building commissioner job description, and I would expect Hamilton to be posting that in the next 2 to 3 weeks based on their town meeting follow-up work. And the goal being that we'll hopefully have someone in place for July 1 for a higher date. So at some point between June and July, we'll be back to the select board for the appointment of this position.
That's great. I think that I think I think it started as a pilot, if I remember. Maybe I'm not remembering, but this joint process has worked really, really well. And a lot of thanks to Jackie and others who put it together and has made it work. I see this, I guess, as sort of an evolution or a little taking a break and switching. It sounds like from the IMA point of view, their processes are just like ours. So it's a matter of who's doing, reconciliations and payments and things like that. So I don't think I have any other questions, although I guess I do. So this agreement, if I don't think we have a formal vote tonight, but when this agreement will be effective as of the date that it's voted by both towns. Do you know if Hamilton has taken any act? Well, they met last night, but I don't know if it was on their agenda.
So I will check with the Hamilton Town Manager. I did give him the timeline that you would be discussing it tonight and voting at a future meeting, maybe next week, maybe the week after. I cannot recall. This was an item that was actually up for discussion when we met jointly with Hamilton, when we had a 3-member board. So I don't know if they took this action right away at that time and we're kind of waiting on it. I think they may have waited for us. So I'll follow up with the Hamilton Town Manager tomorrow. I know that both, when we met jointly with the 2 select boards at the time, that Hamilton was very supportive, obviously. They were actually the ones that requested the change. So the version that you're looking at tonight is the version that they have that's current. So I'll follow up with that. So next week, as part of your motion when they approved it.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for questions. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.
All right, so enough with F. Next item. Other matters that have not been anticipated by the chair. I'll start with Tom. Anything else to add?
Yes, just want to thank the residents of Wenham, our town's team, our department heads, our acting moderator, our boards and committees for a Saturday afternoon in the park. I may have done over my career, maybe over 100 town meetings. And I've always said I've seen and done everything. Never had one in a tent before, and this was at least your second one. But our internal team here who put that together was amazing. And our public safety and public works for making sure the event came off safely. I appreciate it all. This could very likely be my last town meeting that I've ever would be working at. But I'm leaving, if it is, I'm leaving on a good note because you all made it happen under COVID and under different circumstances. So thank you very much, particularly to our team here and our residents. Thank you.
Catherine?
No, I have nothing further.
All right, then just one more thank you to Senator Tar and Representative Hill for attending our town meeting and for also carrying forward the request for grants and for our legislative initiatives that came out of the town meeting. And I suppose the last thing is, just like we had a pretty good crowd at the town meeting, we really need people to turn out for the election this Thursday. So 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. come in the back door of the town hall. Everything is set up to vote safely. All the COVID precautions are in place. Exit out the front and we'll have a good election on Thursday. Along with that, so we'll have some newly elected people, but as you saw the list there, we really need to have people volunteer and step up for all the other committees and boards as well. Because, 30 June, a lot of terms expire and there's a lot of work to do. And take a look at that list. There's so many diverse items or areas of interest that people may have, that anywhere from money to policy to recreation to arts and so forth. So find yourself a slot there and go onto the website and volunteer. Not all the jobs are full-time, heavy workload, some that you can measure your work as well. So please volunteer. All right, anything else from anybody? Last chance. I'll take a motion to adjourn then.
So moved and seconded.
All right, and vote. Catherine
Catherine, yes.
and Gary, yes. And so we'll see you next week. And just a note, to coincide with the expectations on the TA search, the meeting will be on Wednesday, the 19th, not Tuesday, the 18th for that week. So just a heads up ahead. All right, thank you very much. Thank you to the staff and to Nikki also for the great town report that people are receiving or can find online. All right, enough. We're done.